Hello, everybody. My name is Gypsy Wana, and I'm from the Community Health Education Program. Today we have Audrey German and Linda Nicoler. I always can't say it right. Say your name.
Obago
A
Nicole.
bagel.
Obago.
Obago. Sorry. Anyways, we haven't been on air for quite some time due to the weather, so we have a lot of information to cover today. If there's any dates that you want to remember, because we have some events coming up, I suggest you get a pen and paper or something, or put it in your phone. So I think the first thing we're going to talk about right now is March is Colorectal Cancer Awareness Month. And many of you know of our Chesadee Happens, Get Yours Tested campaign. And we've got funding again this year to assist with transportation in the form of a gas card for people that are due for a screening and that have never been screened. Let me see here. How do we begin? So check with the screening age for colon cancer generally begins at age 50. And you would need to pick up an IFOB kit from the laboratory. And if you do that, you'll bring a postcard to CHE and you'll be able to get a gas card. And then when you return your sample to the lab again, you'll get another little postcard to bring to our office and you'll be able to get another gas card. Now this is our goal this year was to reach 100 people that have never been screened for colon cancer. Because we have so many that haven't been, and we want to get at least 100 by the end of May, which is going to be tough because we've got a late start and the weather's really hindered our efforts at educating people. But again, Colorectal Cancer Awareness Month, age 50 and older, that's a recommended screening age. And if you have a family history of colon cancer, you may need to start screening earlier, but you would speak with a medical provider to determine when your screening should start, and you'd have that discussion, with a medical provider. There aren't always symptoms in the early stage, especially in the early stages of colon cancer, so that's why the screening is so important. And before anybody gets scared and wants to run off because it's a colonoscopy, there's a thing called a FIT test or an IFOB. It's a fairly new one, maybe the last 5 or 6, 7, 8 years. That you could take home. It's called the IFOB or the FIT test, a take-home test. And what it does is you test the poop, your Chesadee, to see if there's any blood in it. And it's a simple test. And then you just take this little tube. I'm going to show you a demonstration on how to collect it, and we'll go over that. But that's just the screening. And if it comes back negative, you're good till the following year. Now, if that test comes back positive, that would entail a further discussion with a medical provider, and they would determine if then you would need to do a colonoscopy. So the good thing now is you don't have to go right for a colonoscopy or some other invasive screening. And we like that idea. It's a lot better because we get more people compliant with being able to get their screenings completed. And that will certainly help with the high death rates from cancers that we have.
Yeah. When I turned 50, Gypsy, I had to have a colonoscopy. And that was quite, to get ready for that. It was like about 4 days before you had to eat. You had
that
to
long?
start eating different. And then by the last day, you're drinking all this stuff. And then you can't eat. And so a lot of people, I think that kept a lot of people from going and getting screened.
I remember these one of the ones I took years and years ago, they said not to drink anything red, not to eat tomato, not to eat anything that was red.
Yeah.
Wow.
It was scary.
It had to be all soft foods. And so you went through a lot just to get the colonoscopy. But with the colonoscopy at that time, then it was good for 10 years. But today, like what you're saying, if anybody that's looked on or been watching TV, they're seeing a lot of commercials about March being Colorectal Cancer Awareness Month and how important screening is and the different tests that are out there. And like you said, we use a test called iFit or IFOB. And it's one that you take home with you. It's a kit you take home with you, and you do the kit. It's very simple to do, like Gypsy will show, and then you bring it back. But that's one you got to take every year.
And the cool thing on that is you don't have to change your diet. There's nothing. You just have to wait to go poop.
Yep, and it's just as effective.
Right.
You know, it's not any, less effective than if you were to get a colonoscopy.
Right.
It's just as effective.
So now I'll just do that demonstration real quick. Like, this is the kit, how it normally comes. Generally, you'll either pick these up from the lab. In years past, we were distributing them at any events we might have had, like at the tribal building or anywhere. But this year, more likely, you're going to get it either from Ralph or from the lab. And then it'll be like this. And inside, there's a little vial, a liquid vial.
And then just
They'll-
real quick, Ralph is the public health nurse.
Right, Ralph Erdrich, sorry. Anyways, there's this little vial here. They'll put your name and date of birth on here, so they'll be able to know that it's yours. There's also a what kind of paper is this? Like tissue paper. And you will put this over your toilet. You lift up the seat and then put it underneath the seat, and it's got little sticky tabs on it. So you'd be able to put that over the toilet and put the seat down, and then you'll be able to, you'll do your business. And then here's my fake poop, nice and bright so you can see it. And you'll take this, and then you only need to take this out of here. There's a little wand in there, and you just have to dab it like 5 or 6 times in a few different spots, and put it back in here.
Do you have to push it into the poop?
You just lightly though. You don't want to gouge it, and you don't want too much on here. Like if you did something like that and got gunk on it, that would be too much.
Okay.
It can plug up the test that they have in the lab. So again, lightly dabbing it about 6 different spots, and then putting this in the vial, or tightening it back up again, and it goes in this plastic bag, just like so. Now all of this stuff you would flush down the toilet. And then this has a little sticker seal, you'd fold it over, and then this is what you take back to the lab. And when you take this to the laboratory, this is with the people that go to Woodrow Wilson Keeble Memorial Healthcare Center. They'll give you a square postcard that has our Chastity Happens logo thing on it, and you would bring that to the community health education program, and we would ask you to, then you will sign for a gas card. And then we have a quiz for you too to see what you know about colon cancer and the right, what age begins and stuff like that.
But you probably want to put it back in the envelope
Yeah,
and return it.
right.
Return it in the envelope.
Yeah, but just so you know that you don't bring this to the lab,
Yeah.
you bring this to the lab.
And-
And then, if you can't come back to the lab, these do have, you could mail them back in too. We'd have to discuss how you'd get a gas card for that, but point is you could mail it in too. So with that, we have an event coming up. We had one on March, was it 7th or 14th? We had an event out of the tribal building already, but we have another one scheduled for March 28th. We'll have that inflatable colon set up out at the tribal building in the rotunda. Just taking the tour of that thing, and Ralph does a really good job on explaining how colon cancer can begin. It starts with those polyps, and if you ignore them or don't do anything about them, they can develop into cancer, and the later stages of cancer, treatment isn't as effective, and people are more likely to die versus having it cured. And so that's why the screenings are important annually. And then when we do this event on the 28th, there's also going to be a lunch and learn at 12 o'clock. Delane Rasmussen from the IHS, she's the dietitian. She'll be doing that lunch and learn. And she'll have, I think she had some stuff planned for like what kind of foods would help prevent colon cancer. And we have a few items. There's one thing we'll be giving away that day. It's a magnet, a little to-do list magnet, a little reminder thing for a date that you have appointments. It's a magnet. You can put it on your fridge or filing cabinet at work or whatever. So just so you know that. I guess that's it. Anyone have anything else to say about the colon cancer stuff? Did I cover it all?
I was gonna say something, I forgot.
Well, the one thing with community health education, we've been really fortunate that we have been able to get this funding through the Great Plains Tribal Chairman's Health Board. So they're funding the Colorectal Cancer Screening Initiative. And the reason why this is so important and the reason why we have this funding is that we want our people to get screened. And sometimes it's difficult to, people don't want to do it because it does, I'll just say, it does seem kind of icky. When we're out there and we're showing people how to take the sample, they almost don't want to come because it just seems, kind of icky. But it's really something that's simple to do once people do it and they see what it's all about. They really do, they're very willing to do it. They're happy they did it. And so when people come in and they're talking about their experience, they just feel like it wasn't that bad.
Yeah.
Versus going and getting a colonoscopy. And so it's something that you can do for your health, learning a little bit more about how we can stay healthy. And a lot of times with our people especially, we might have a lower incidence of it, but we have a higher incidence, meaning we don't have as many people that can get it, but we have more people that die from some of these things because we're not getting screened. Or if we're getting screened, we're getting screened, after it's progressed, But we want to try to get people that start getting screened at the age that, you're eligible. Like for colorectal cancer, it's 50. So if you're 50 and you haven't been to the doctor, say, they're not going to be able to catch you to say, you're screening and then to refer you.
Right. And I guess one more thing before I forget is if any of you out there receive your care at the VA in Fargo or wherever else the VA's at, sometimes you may go to IHS and so you would show up on their list and that you might be due for a screening, but you end up doing all of your stuff up at the VA. You could let IHS know or one of the providers know that you did get your screening completed, or maybe sign the releases from the VA to send that information to the IHS so that way it shows that you are complete and that you did get your screening done. Otherwise, you'll keep getting letters from the IHS saying, hey, you need your screening, you need your screening. And
so if someone did, they're on the IHS patient roster and they get their screenings up at the VA, are they eligible for the gas card?
I would think yes.
Because that's the same
because
with
because if they receive care at IHS also, because sometimes people will come in if they've got a really bad cold or whatever. So yeah, they would be. We would just need to make sure that those records from the VA get sent down to the IHS so that it can be noted and marked, complete.
Documented somewhere that it was completed.
Right.
Okay.
Okay, so then for colorectal, so we know that in this area, lung cancer is the number one killer of us. Where does this one fall?
This one is number 3 for men and women.
For men and women. And this test is so much simpler than taking a
Colonoscopy.
It is just crazy.
You don't have all that.
Colonoscopy. The thing too is, if you delay it and you don't get tested, and sometime down the line you do finally get tested, chances are you're getting to that point of maybe being a little bit too late. And therein part of your intestines is going to have to be taken. And sometimes, in order to live a fairly healthy life, you have to wear a colostomy bag. So there's some very, very good reasons to do this very simple test in order to have a good quality of life when you get older. I know people that have to wear these apparatuses for the rest of their life. And you can't tell, but the point is they have to wear them. But yeah, so just please, for your family, your grandkids, so you'll be here as long as you're supposed to be here instead of being taken by a disease that's really preventable.
And again, Ralph will be at the Tribal Building on March 28th, 10 to, I can't remember the hours now.
When is it?
I have it on the flyer. Tom showed it. Anyway,
10 to 1.
If you've never gone through that inflatable colon, I recommend that you do, because Ralph really does a good job explaining how it begins and at what stage that the cancer could possibly start spreading to other areas of the body. And then when it spreads to other areas, that's when it's a lot more difficult and lifespans are shortened. So I guess that's it for the colon cancer. And again, there's not always symptoms.
Yeah.
And if you finally start seeing symptoms, by then it could be too late. So please get screened. So we have another cancer topic. We have another grant from the Great Plains Tribal Chairman's Health Board again. This is the first year I think that they've offered it, and we actually got two, and it's called the Honor Every Woman. It's a breast cancer and cervical cancer screening. We want to increase those rates. The first one we got was for $6,000. And then a short time later, they contacted us and asked if we would like more funding. We said, of course. So we got an additional $20,000. And again, that's to increase the breast cancer screening rates, which is a mammogram, and then the cervical cancer screening rates, which is a PAP. And we'll be able to give every woman that completes either screening a gas card, provided they're due for the screening. And then so Audrey can give a little information about the cervical cancer, what it is and such.
Okay, so, when we were talking this morning about, our initiative, we don't hear a lot about cervical cancer.
No, we
I
don't.
think that's something that, even though we have cervical cancer in our community within some, with some of our women, we don't talk about it too much. And so this is probably a topic that most people haven't heard a lot about. Maybe they have a family member and maybe, they really haven't talked a lot about it. But cervical cancer actually is, we like I said, that we have had cervical cancer with some of our people at IHS, but all women are at risk for cervical cancer, and that most often occurs with women that are over the age of 30. And that 70% of those cervical cancers are caused by the human papillomavirus. Some of these words are like very, very tongue twisting. And so, with that, some of you, that have brought your children in, whether it's your sons or your daughters, they're 11 years old, they start talking about giving the HPV, is easier to say, I guess, immunization. And it comes in two doses, one, they do the first one and then they come back in and they have to do the second one. And because, like I said, 70% of the cervical cancers are caused by this virus. And so if you have a daughter or a son, I really encourage you to learn about it. I know sometimes people are, leery of getting their children immunized, but this is one that could really, another one that can really be helpful in saving their lives and saving a lot of heartache, I guess. And so if you have a daughter or son, bring them into IHS, if they're getting their regular physical to get them immunized. And the thing is not only get that first dosage, but to also finish it up and get the second one. So, so some of the screening tests for early detection, it says cervical cancer is the most preventable female cancer. Prevention is done through routine screening such as PAP tests or HPV tests and early treatment. So if you're between the ages of 21 and 30, you would be recommended to get your first PAP and get it every 3 years. You're not recommended at that point for both the PAP and the HPV, but starting at the age of 30 to 65, the HPV and the PAP test are recommended together every 3 years for the PAP, and then every 5 years for the HPV. And then if you're over 65, it's not it's not recommended for either one. Says to reduce your risk, and I think when we talk about cancers, it's almost the same things that the same recommendations as far as changes and maintaining that healthy lifestyle. It's, maintaining a healthy weight, increasing your physical activity or being physically active. And it doesn't mean when you be physically active, it doesn't mean going out and exercising 2 hours a day for every day of the week. It's just being more active, putting more steps into your day rather than making that phone call if you're at work, take that time to walk to that person's office, or, just putting more steps into your day. Changing your diet to include more fruits and vegetables, and then living a tobacco-free lifestyle. And then also with this one, Bo, is to limit the number of sexual partners you have, and then just practicing safe sex.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're eligible, early detection is if you're a female, to get the HPV vaccination, encouraging others eligible individuals to get vaccinated, getting your pap test every 3 years. If you're 21 to 30 years old, get your HPV and pap test, which is a co-test if you're 30 to 65 years old. So those are some of the things that you can do.
And then I think that this is an excellent, awesome opportunity to start talking about having sex. You know, it's hard to bring that subject up, and it happens. You know, your children need to be warned about STDs. You know, and of course,
Mhm.
cervical cancer, like Audrey said. You know, if you have multiple partners, if your partner has had multiple partners prior to being with you, that puts you at danger. So it's really a really awesome time to start starting a conversation about keeping yourself and your body sacred and keeping yourself healthy. That's something that people don't like to talk about.
No.
But we need to get back to that. We need to be more open about so many negative things. We need to be more open about the sacredness of our bodies and who we are as a Dakota people and where we come from. You know, I look at everybody here is a miracle from our ancestors. You know, we need to remember that. We need to carry on in a good healthy way. But smoking does double a woman's risk of getting cervical cancer. And that's because some of the carcinogens and stuff you inhale also coats the cervix. And it kind of bathes it in there, and it stays in there for a while. So that's why it doubles the risks. One thing I had to get help, and I still don't know how to say this, but it's diethanol, they told me how to say it too.
Oh my.
Diethanol stilbestrol. And in 1940, and it's referred to as DES, in 1940, women were given this drug to prevent miscarriages. Okay, so from 1940 to 1971 to prevent miscarriages, and it caused a higher risk of developing cervical cancer.
Wow.
So so that means anybody from 48 to 79 really needs to get checked, to get tested, get a pap done, because you have a very high risk of cervical cancer now because of that. Again, smoking, the sexual history, your immune systems, if you had a transplant, your immune system is weak anyway. And that even falls into the category of cancer patients. There's a point in time when your immune system is so low that you are actually warned to stay away from people, to keep yourself, protected at all times, to keep from getting a cold. You can catch anything in the air, but, this is another thing that you need to be made aware of. There are more than 100 types of HPV. 30 to 40 of them are the cause of sexually transmitted diseases. Some of this stuff, some of the strains are so high, it's kind of like smoking. With the smoking, we know there's 599 additives. Of those 599, once the cigarette is lit, it causes 4,000 plus chemicals. Of those 4,000, we know that 40 plus actually cause cancer. And then that is taken into your system, into your blood, and that is what bathes and stays in your cervix for a while. So, I don't know, there's so many things we need to learn about being healthy. The general ones for all cancer are the ones that Audrey said. They're very simple, just to have a good, healthy life. But, yeah, it kind of made me wonder now if my mom had to take this drug years and years ago
Mm.
for miscarriages, you know. It's crazy.
You know, I'm glad you brought that up about the HPV, you know, and the vaccination doesn't cover all the HPV, different kinds of strains of HPV. It's kind of like the flu shot. You know, when you get the flu shot, you're getting immunized against the most common causes or most common influenza, but it doesn't cover all of them. So you could get the flu shot, and you might get the strain that flu shot doesn't cover and still get the flu.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and so that's just like HPV too. You know, you get they're putting in that vaccination the most common HPV virus, but then it might not cover. It doesn't cover all of them. They're just the most common ones.
Yeah.
Common ones that cause cancer. And so, you know, just keeping that in mind too, because I know sometimes people will say different things like, I got the flu shot and I still got the flu. But it might have been a different strain of the flu,
Right.
and that's why.
Yeah.
And so the same thing with HPV.
So this HPV infection, what did you say? It was 70, causes 70% of the cancers
Yep.
of cervical cancer.
Yep.
Okay, so one thing I want to say too is you don't always hear about, well, men don't have a cervix, so they're not going to get cervical cancer. But HPV is spread through sexual activity, so that's unprotected sex. So men can also be infected with HPV. Men or boys, males. They do have cancers too. There's 7 different types of cancers. 3 of these affect men. That's the head, neck, oral, penile, and anal or rectal cancers, and that would be caused by that HPV. I'm not going to say the long word; that's too hard to say. So, again, that the vaccine should be around 11 to 12 years old, you know, when they're preteens. It gives their body time to develop the immunity when they get that vaccine. And this is a future cancer prevention. You know, I've mentioned many times before that SWO tribal members have one of the highest death rates from cancers among all other Alaska Natives, Native American peoples. And this is one way we can help prevent those cancers, help prevent those deaths, is by starting these vaccines and, you know, practicing the other things we said about healthier lifestyles and stuff. But we just want you to know that it's not just a female issue. And then there's no clinical way to do a test for men for the HPV to get that virus. They don't have a really good way to test men for it. That's why it's really good for them to get the vaccine. I'm not sure how they test the women. They do it when it's with their pap and however they send that off. But I think that's it on that.
I just want to add to it, like I say, it's a perfect opportunity to talk to your children about being sexually active. You know, one of the big dangers is getting chlamydia. That causes infertility.
Is it 15 to 25?
You know, so have that conversation. Talk about respecting yourself, you know.
Right.
Taking care of your health.
So, you know, with that, one more thing, I guess, is a lot of times, I don't know, maybe the younger kids are, the main thing they might be worried about is getting pregnant when they're younger, you know, getting pregnant. So they'll get on a female might get on the pill but that's the pregnancy at this point, especially with all the diseases, is maybe like the least thing to worry about. We have the STIs, like Linda said, the age group 15 to 25, isn't it, has the highest rate of STIs, and that's across the nation. So, you know, 15 to 25-year-olds are having sex, they're having unprotected sex, and that's how the diseases spread. What would we say? Gonorrhea, chlamydia, syphilis is making a nice comeback, and HPV again is also spread through unprotected sexual activity, and that would, you know, use protection, like Linda was saying, is having that conversation. And you know, granted, we don't want children, you know, having sex early, but we need to be safe. We need to know what the dangers are out there. There's HIV and hepatitis C also. So those are just things to think about, and again, have that conversation for education purposes and disease prevention. This Honor Every Woman, we talked about cervical cancer, and it's also for breast cancer prevention. And then Linda was going to give a little facts and information on breast cancer and the
Breast
screenings.
cancer, the screenings, 40.
40, age 40.
Age 40, get screened. Like I say, I'm a 2-time breast cancer survivor, thank God. You know, we have many breast cancer survivors here, many relatives. But 1 in 8 women will get breast cancer. So if we had just random 8 women in here, one of us has already had breast cancer, or one will get breast cancer. Now that's kind of a scary percentage to think about. When you walk into the grocery store and look around,
Mm-hmm.
you know, it's here among us, you know, and we can get rid of it. We got to fight it. We can do something about it. Just an odd statistic, 41,211 women died from breast cancer in 2017. You know, 85% of the women who develop breast cancer have developed breast cancer with no family history. You know, some of the symptoms are swelling of all or part of the breast, skin irritation, dimpling, breast and nipple pain, nipple refraction, that means your nipple turns inward, redness, scaliness, thickening of the nipple and breast skin, you know, discharge, you know, other than breast milk. You know, there's so many good reasons to get checked. You know, it takes less than, 15 minutes, you know, to get an exam, you know. When you take 15 minutes compared to, like, for me, going on, 8 years now of wondering and being concerned, you know, it makes sense just to do the mammogram, to get checked, get a grip on it, you know. Pay attention to your family members. If it's in your family, then everybody needs to get checked. You need to start earlier. So, you know, we have, that's a good time to mention, every third Wednesday of each month, beginning the 20th, from 12 to 1 o'clock at the Travel Building in the white quadrant, room 112, we will be having a breast cancer support group.
Nice.
And the women, you know, they've been asking for a bit, and it was just a matter of time. And the time is right, so now we've started. You know, we want to talk about how we can help the family members, how we can help the children. You know, and breast cancer is not the only cancer here. There's other types of cancers that need to be pulled in, and other cancer support groups need to be developed and set up. Like Gypsy mentioned, we are number 1 in all 3 cancers. That's not good. We can fight this. We fought everything else in history from the beginning of time. You know, we just have to fight in a different way now.
Mm-hmm.
Our fighting strategies have to change now.
So Tom had on the screen the mammogram dates that were coming up, and March 28th is the next mammogram date that whoever that group that's coming, they come twice a month on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And this is some good news right here, is that soon, I'm not sure how soon, but we will be, the IHS will be doing in-house mammograms coming up. They've got the approval and the system's been purchased, and they're just waiting on delivery and installation and whatever remodels they need to do. But I think that's something really good. We won't be limited to just twice a month. Mm-hmm. They'll be able to schedule mammograms right there at the facility, which will be really good. Again, the next mammogram date is March 28th, 9 to 2:45, is it? And if you need a mammogram, you can call 742 3771. That's radiology. You can make an appointment with them. And again, you'll be eligible for a gift card, a gas card. I keep saying gift card, but it's a gas card, a Cenex gas card that's good at wherever Cenex is, and you will get that once you complete your screening. You'll come to a community health education program, and we'll get you set up. And is that it on the breast cancer and
Breast cancer.
cervical cancer? Did we cover what we needed to?
The only thing I wanted to mention is that with the funding that we received from the Great Plains Tribal Chairman's Health
very
Board,
good.
we have a wellness fair coming up on April 17th, and it's going to be right here at the community college in the auditorium. And there's a movie called Someone You Love, and it's on HPV. It's won a lot of national awards. It's a very good movie. I haven't seen it, but I know others have seen it. Sandy Bernard, who works with us, had mentioned that she had seen it, and she said it's very good. It's an hour and 20 minutes, and it's a documentary of 3 women, I believe, that have had HPV and what they went through. And so I guess it's a very touching movie. We're gonna show it at 10:30 that morning, and it's gonna go to, like I said, it's an hour and 20 minutes. And so, but the wellness fair starts at 9. It'll go to 3 o'clock. So if you're around, we really would like to see as many people to come and take in all the information. The ladies from the Great Plains Tribal Chairman's Health Board will be here, and so they'll have information. We have information from booths from the IHS, and different people will be there. So it'll be a really good day, and hoping to see a lot of our women, and bring your husbands or your boyfriends, or boyfriends bring your girlfriends, husband bring your wives. It's for everybody, you know. And if you are a Kushi or a Unkana, you know, come and get the information for your Tekoja, you know, and so that I think we probably have the most influence on our families, and so we're all Kushis here. So, you know, bring your family and just come out and get some good information.
So another thing with this Honor Every Woman, again, the weather has hindered us in a lot of our activities and things we wanted to do. Our goal originally was to get 185 people screened if we were able to get started and do a lot from January, I believe it was. So we're already, 2 months behind. So help us reach 185 people. And if you're due for a screening, or if you don't even know, call and find out. And you are eligible for a gas card. That'll help with gas if you're living out of town, or however. It's just going to help you out there. And so that's that on the Honor Every Woman campaign.
Do it for your family. Do it for your grandkids.
Exactly. And, okay, so now we have some other things coming up in the community. We have the next SWO blood drive is April 4th. Again, that'll be at the Tribal Building in the training room. And the time is from 9:45 to 2 p.m. Now, I don't have the link for right now to give you for if you want to make your own appointment, but you can call Bailey at 701-361-2142 to make an appointment for a blood drive. And we're trying to get at least 25 people to give blood. And that would be really good if we can make that goal. So, again, that'll be April 4th, 9:45 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the Tribal Building in the training room next to Tribal Enrollment Office. And I think that's all I have. Nope, there's one more. National Native HIV/AIDS Awareness Day is March 20th. And we will be setting up in the college, right in the front lobby, with fun and games, some education. I think we're going to do some kind of a game to provide education about HIV. Public health nursing will be available to do HIV screening and hepatitis C screening. And I would like to say that hepatitis C screening, we've got a lot of cases around here of people with hepatitis C, and that there is attributed to drug use, intravenous drug use with the needles and stuff, sharing. So it's a good idea to get screened. And let's see, if there's a lot of times if you have hepatitis C, you could possibly have HIV. They say there's a strong co-infection with either one of those. So it's good to get screened for both of them. And
And I think what we're talking about with STIs are sexually transmitted infections, is when you have an untreated STI, like chlamydia, gonorrhea, syphilis, one of those, it puts you at risk for HIV. And so people would think, well, how does that put you at risk? Well, one of the things is that when you have an untreated infection, you have more white blood cells.
right,
And that's where HIV, the more you give HIV and that hepatitis C more opportunities to infect your body.
wherever the sores might be.
Yep, yep.
Right.
And so if you have just with all those things like Linda said, we really have to take care of them, and we have to know our body so that we can take care of our health, because those are all things that we can be cured from those, except for HIV. But there is a cure for hepatitis C and the other STIs, and so we really want to reduce our risk for some of those infections.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Good. So, if you have any questions, if you need more updates, we put stuff in the paper, the Shota.
Mhm.
We have our Community Health Education Facebook page, and you can always call our office at 742-3651. And anything else? Yes, Linda?
Again, every third Wednesday of the month is Breast Cancer Support Group from 12 to 1. Bring your lunch, bring a friend, bring your family members, whoever you want to be there, and we will get started on helping to heal spiritually, emotionally, and how we can help other people. There's a lot of people out there sitting in silence and going through this alone, and it shouldn't be that way. Every third Wednesday of the month, 12 to 1. And then every first Wednesday of the month, same time, 12 to 1, same room 112 at the Tribal Building. And it's right in the area of the enrollment office. If you go through the enrollment office, you take a right, and it's the second door down. It's on the inner side of the circle. But that will be for tobacco cessation, a support group. Or if you need to come and talk, you want to know how to quit, you want help quitting, just come by and we can visit and take care of whatever it is you need. Help in any way that I can. But yeah, the third Wednesday and the first Wednesday of every month.
Great.
And then I have this thing, and I'll maybe let Tom announce it a couple times, but it's called Balancing and Work with Cancer, and it's a free workshop. And it is on Wednesday, April 7th, from 5:45 to 7:45 p.m., and it's in Sioux Falls. And I'm going to be going, and if somebody wants to jump in with me and check this out, you're sure welcome to come. But just so anybody that wants, can come, you sure can come with me.
Okay.
Okay, so the other thing that we didn't talk about is that we're looking for some people to do some
Right,
digital
right,
stories. So if you're a breast cancer survivor or you've survived cervical cancer and you're interested in sharing your story, a lot of people share their story because they want to help other people. And I know as Dakotas, we really do have that care and concern for each other. And so if you have a story that you would like to share, we would like to work with you. This grant that we have will end the end of May, so it's not going to be ongoing. It's not going to be like for the whole year. And so that's why we have a lot of work to do in a very short amount of time here. So we have to have these things finished. The gas cards we'll have until the end of May, maybe the middle of June, because we had so many challenges in getting started. So we might be able to go to the middle of June. So that would be the latest. And so if you're due for a mammogram or a PAP, call and get that scheduled. And I guess the thing to do, would be however you need to remind yourself so you don't miss those appointments.
Mm-hmm.
Do your best to make your appointments so you can get those done. And yeah.
I don't. Do you mention honorarium?
So if you're interested in sharing your story, You know, we want to be able to, you know, for that story, you know, and for that knowledge that you're sharing, we do have an honorarium for 4 people, you know, and we're looking for 2 stories for cervical cancer and 2 for breast cancer survivor. And so we have an honorarium that we'd be able to assist you with.
Okay, I think we covered everything we wanted to talk about. We missed so many shows, and so we just want to thank you for watching CAG 411. And I'd just like to remind everybody to make sure you buckle up every time you get in a vehicle.
As soon as you get up in the morning, instead of that first cup of coffee, drink a cup of water, because they say your body is fasting through the night while you sleep. And so water is our first medicine. Drink a cup of water, wake up your body, help your organs to start in a good way, and then have your coffee. And of course, don't smoke. Please don't smoke. Think of your babies, think of your grandchildren, think of your life at the end when you get older. Do you want to have a good quality of health, of life? You know, or do you want your family to see you sick? That's your choice. That's the choice you're making every time you light a cigarette. I'm not preaching, you know, that's the way it is.
Yeah. And screenings do save lives, you know, so if you can get your screening and know when you should start your screenings, you know, for the cervical cancer, you know, to get the PAP, you know, it's over 21. For your mammograms, it's over 40. For the colorectal cancer, it's at the age of 50. So get your screenings. You know, we want to improve those rates, and I know we can do it. You know, we just have to keep talking about it and encouraging people, and so that's what we want to do.
Okay.
So, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, Doksta.
The Oaksta.